The 21st century is upon us, a time of unprecedented change and advancement. We live in a world unimaginable just a few decades ago. Technology has reshaped our lives, connecting us in ways we never thought possible. Yet amidst this rapid progress, fundamental questions about our existence and purpose remain. As we stand at the cusp of the artificial intelligence revolution, these questions take on a new urgency. AI promises to reshape our world in profound ways, with the potential to solve some of humanity's greatest challenges. However, it also raises concerns about our place in the universe and the very nature of what it means to be human. In this era of technological marvels, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement and possibilities, but it's precisely in these times of rapid change that we must pause and reflect on our core values. We must ask ourselves, what principles will guide us as we navigate this uncharted territory? Artificial intelligence is no longer a figment of science fiction. It's here, and it's evolving at an astonishing pace. From self-driving cars to personalized medicine, AI is poised to transform countless aspects of our lives. This technology holds immense promise, offering solutions to problems that have plagued humanity for centuries. However, the rise of AI also presents us with a unique set of challenges and ethical dilemmas. As machines become increasingly sophisticated, capable of learning and making decisions autonomously, we must grapple with questions of responsibility and control. What happens when AI surpasses human intelligence? How do we ensure that these powerful tools are used for good? These are not merely hypothetical questions, they are real and pressing concerns that demand our attention. The decisions we make today regarding the development and deployment of AI will have far-reaching consequences for the future of our species. It's imperative that we approach this technology with both enthusiasm and caution. In a world increasingly shaped by technology, it's natural to question the relevance of faith and spirituality. Some might argue that in the age of reason and scientific progress, traditional beliefs are outdated and unnecessary. However, I believe that understanding God is more critical now than ever before, particularly in the face of AI's transformative power. The concept of God, regardless of one's specific religious beliefs, often represents the ultimate source of meaning, purpose, and morality. It provides a framework for understanding our place in the universe and guides our actions towards compassion, empathy, and ethical behavior. In a world where AI challenges our understanding of consciousness, free will, and the nature of existence, these guiding principles become even more crucial. As we navigate the complex landscape of the 21st century, understanding God can offer a sense of grounding and perspective. It reminds us that we are not alone in the universe, that there is a higher power guiding our steps. This understanding can provide solace in times of uncertainty and inspire us to use our technological advancements for the betterment of humanity. The 19th century witnessed a seismic shift in human civilization with the advent of the Industrial Revolution. Factories sprouted across the landscape, humming with the promise of progress and prosperity. Yet this progress came at a cost. The relentless pursuit of efficiency and production created a new social class, the working class. These men and women, often toiling in harsh conditions for meager wages, became the backbone of the burgeoning industrial economy. They were the cogs in the machine, their labor fueling the engine of progress. But while the factory owners amassed fortunes, the workers often struggled to make ends meet. This disparity between the haves and the have-nots did not go unnoticed. The plight of the working class, their struggles for fair wages, reasonable hours, and humane treatment became a growing concern. The seeds of discontent were sown, and from this fertile ground, new ideas began to take root. Out of the ashes of industrial strife, a new narrative emerged, a story that promised a better world for the downtrodden and exploited. This story, known as communism, captured the imaginations of millions with its vision of a classless society where wealth and power were shared equally among all. At the heart of communism lay the idea that the means of production should be owned and controlled by the workers themselves, not by a select few capitalists. It was a radical notion, a complete departure from the established order. But for those who had known only hardship and inequality, it offered a glimmer of hope. The story of communism spread like wildfire, carried on the winds of discontent and the yearning for a more just and equitable society. It promised liberation from the shackles of oppression, a world where everyone had an equal share in the fruits of their labor. Communism's appeal was undeniable. It tapped into a deep-seated human desire for fairness, for a world where everyone had the opportunity to thrive. It offered a powerful critique of the excesses of capitalism and the widening gap between the rich and the poor. However, like all stories, communism was not without its flaws. It was, after all, a human creation subject to the limitations and imperfections inherent in human nature. While its ideals were noble, their execution often fell short. The story of communism, in practice, often became distorted, morphing into something far different from the utopian vision it had once promised. Power, once concentrated in the hands of the few, simply shifted to a new ruling class, often just as corrupt and oppressive as the one it had replaced. As the story of communism gained traction, a counter-narrative began to take shape, one that championed individual liberty and free markets as the path to prosperity. This counter-narrative, known as capitalism, offered a starkly different vision of the future. Capitalism embraced competition and innovation, arguing that the pursuit of self-interest within a framework of laws and regulations would ultimately benefit society as a whole. It celebrated entrepreneurship and risk-taking, seeing in them the engines of economic growth and progress. This story, too, resonated with many. It spoke to the human spirit of ingenuity and the desire for personal achievement. It promised a world of opportunity, where hard work and determination could lead to success. The allure of freedom and individualism is a central theme in the story of capitalism. Its appeal lay in its emphasis on individual freedom and choice. It offered a vision of a society where individuals were free to pursue their own destinies, unfettered by government interference or the dictates of a collective ideology. This freedom, however, came with a caveat responsibility. Capitalism placed a high value on personal accountability, arguing that individuals should be responsible for their own well-being and that success or failure was ultimately a matter of personal choice. For many, this emphasis on individual agency was empowering. It offered a sense of control over one's own life and destiny, a stark contrast to the perceived conformity and collectivism of communism. While capitalism unleashed unprecedented economic growth and innovation, it also cast long shadows of inequality. The pursuit of profit, unchecked, often led to exploitation and the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few. The gap between the rich and the poor widened, creating social tensions and unrest. The very freedoms that capitalism celebrated could also be used to justify greed, discrimination, and the abuse of power. The story of capitalism, like that of communism, revealed the complexities of human nature. It demonstrated that even the most well-intentioned ideas could have unintended consequences, and that the pursuit of individual freedom without a corresponding commitment to social justice could lead to new forms of oppressions. As the 20th century unfolded, a third story emerged from the crucible of economic turmoil, social upheaval, and political instability. This story, known as fascism, offered a chillingly different vision of the future, one built on fear, nationalism, and the glorification of the state. Fascism rejected both the collectivism of communism and the individualism of capitalism, seeking instead to forge a new order based on the absolute authority of a charismatic leader and the suppression of dissent. It appealed to those disillusioned by the perceived failures of both left and right-wing ideologies, offering a seductive mix of order and strength. This story, fueled by propaganda and fear, found fertile ground in countries ravaged by war and economic depression. It promised a return to greatness, a restoration of national pride, and a swift end to the chaos and uncertainty that gripped the world. Each of these grand narratives, communism, capitalism, and fascism, carried within them the seeds of their own destruction. They were, after all, human constructs built upon certain assumptions about human nature, assumptions that proved to be tragically flawed. Communism, in its idealistic form, assumed a fundamental goodness in humanity, a willingness to share and cooperate for the common good. It failed to account for the enduring power of self-interest, the desire for personal gain, and the seductive allure of power. Capitalism, while celebrating individual freedom, underestimated the corrosive effects of unchecked greed and the potential for exploitation inherent in a system driven solely by profit. It assumed that a rising tide would lift all boats, failing to anticipate the widening gap between the haves and the have-nots. Fascism, from its very inception, embraced the darker aspects of human nature, exploiting fear, prejudice, and the lust for power to achieve its aims. It offered a seductive but ultimately hollow promise of order and security at the expense of individual liberty and human dignity. Each of these ideologies, despite their vastly different visions of the future, shared a common fatal flaw. They overestimated the ability of human beings to wield power wisely and justly. They failed to recognize that power, regardless of its source or ideology, has an inherent tendency to corrupt. As Lord Acton famously observed, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. This timeless truth played out repeatedly throughout the 20th century, as one grand experiment in social engineering after another crumbled under the weight of its own contradictions. The 20th century, for all its horrors and triumphs, served as a brutal testing ground for these grand ideologies. It exposed the fragility of human constructs and the dangers of placing blind faith in any system, no matter how well-intentioned. Communism, despite its early promise, devolved into totalitarian regimes marked by oppression, economic stagnation, and the suppression of individual liberties. The utopian dream of a classless society became a nightmare for millions. Capitalism, while generating unprecedented wealth and innovation, also created vast inequalities and social dislocations. The unbridled pursuit of profit, unchecked by ethical considerations, led to exploitation, environmental degradation, and a growing sense of alienation and discontent. Fascism, thankfully, was defeated on the battlefields of World War II, but not before it had plunged the world into darkness and claimed the lives of millions. Its legacy of hatred, intolerance, and genocide serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the fragility of human civilization. As we entered the 21st century, the grand narratives that had defined so much of the previous century lay in ruins. The Cold War had ended, but the ideological battles continued, often morphing into new and even more intractable forms. The rise of globalization and the interconnectedness of the modern world brought with it new challenges and opportunities. The old certainties were gone, replaced by a sense of fragmentation, uncertainty, and a yearning for meaning and purpose in a world seemingly spinning out of control. It is in this context, a world grappling with the legacy of shattered utopias and the challenges of a new millennium, that the question of God takes on a renewed urgency. For in the absence of compelling secular narratives, many are turning to faith and spirituality as a source of meaning, guidance, and hope. The dawn of the 21st century brought with it a technological revolution unlike any other, the rise of artificial intelligence. No longer confined to the realm of science fiction, AI has rapidly infiltrated nearly every aspect of our lives, from the way we communicate and consume information to the very fabric of our economies and societies. This AI revolution, while brimming with the potential to solve some of humanity's most pressing challenges, also presents us with a profound existential crossroads. As machines become increasingly sophisticated, capable of mimicking and even surpassing human intelligence in certain domains, we are forced to confront fundamental questions about the nature of consciousness, free will, and the very essence of what it means to be human. Are we on the cusp of a golden age where AI ushers in an era of unprecedented prosperity and well-being for all? Or are we hurtling towards a dystopian future where intelligent machines surpass our control, rendering us irrelevant or even posing an existential threat to our species? We now live in what some have dubbed the algorithmic age, where complex algorithms shape our perceptions, influence our decisions, and mediate our interactions with the world around us. These algorithms, while often presented as objective and neutral, are ultimately human creations, imbued with the biases and values of their creators. This raises a host of ethical concerns. How do we ensure that these powerful tools are used responsibly, in a manner that promotes fairness, justice, and the common good? How do we prevent AI from exacerbating existing inequalities or being used for malicious purposes, such as surveillance, manipulation, or even autonomous warfare? These are not merely technical challenges, but deeply philosophical and spiritual ones. They demand that we grapple with our own values, our understanding of right and wrong, and the ethical principles that should guide our development and use of this transformative technology. In the face of such profound technological and societal shifts, it's tempting to feel overwhelmed, to succumb to a sense of powerlessness or despair. Yet it is precisely in these times of uncertainty and rapid change that we must cling to our humanity, to the values and principles that have sustained us through millennia of challenges. This is where the concept of God, regardless of one's specific religious beliefs, takes on a renewed significance. For many, the idea of a higher power, a source of ultimate meaning and purpose, provides a sense of grounding and perspective in a world increasingly dominated by the impersonal forces of technology. Understanding God in this context is not about clinging to dogma or rejecting scientific progress. It's about reconnecting with our shared humanity, with the ethical and moral compass that has guided us for centuries. It's about recognizing that we are more than just biological machines, that there is a spark of divinity within each of us, a capacity for love, compassion, and transcendence that cannot be replicated by even the most sophisticated algorithms. We have journeyed through the annals of history, witnessing the rise and fall of grand ideologies, the triumphs and follies of human ambition, and the enduring power of both our better angels and our darker impulses. And now We stand at the precipice of a new era, one defined by the transformative power of artificial intelligence. It's tempting, in the face of such rapid technological advancement, to view faith and technology as being at odds with one another. Some might see AI as a threat to our spiritual beliefs, a harbinger of a cold, mechanistic future devoid of meaning or purpose. Others might argue that faith is irrelevant in the face of such progress, a relic of a bygone era. However, I believe that the relationship between faith and technology is far more nuanced and indeed essential to navigating the complexities of the 21st century. Understanding God, regardless of one's specific religious beliefs, is not about rejecting scientific progress, but about embracing wisdom, compassion, and ethical guidance in a world increasingly shaped by algorithms and artificial intelligence. As we venture further into the uncharted territory of the AI era, it's crucial to remember that technology is a double-edged sword. It has the potential to elevate humanity to new heights of well-being and understanding, but it also carries the risk of amplifying our flaws, exacerbating inequalities, and even posing existential threats to our very existence. The choices we make today regarding the development and deployment of AI will have far-reaching consequences for generations to come. It's not enough to focus solely on the technical aspects of this revolution. We must also engage in deep, meaningful conversations about the ethical implications of AI, the values we wish to embed in these intelligent systems, and the safeguards necessary to prevent unintended consequences. This is where understanding God, in the broadest sense of the word, becomes paramount. It's about recognizing that we are not just biological machines, but spiritual beings capable of love, compassion, empathy, and moral reasoning. It's about seeking guidance from our deepest values, our shared humanity, and our sense of interconnectedness with all living things. The future is not predetermined. It's a canvas upon which we, through our choices and actions, paint the masterpiece of human destiny. Let us strive to make it a masterpiece worthy of our highest aspirations, a future where faith and technology work in harmony to create a more just, compassionate, and enlightened world for all.